Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the next chapter of Sustainable Stow along with the Randall Library. I'm Tina, the director of the library, and I'm here tonight to welcome Sustainable Stow speaker. The video is being recorded, just so you know. And just a few housekeeping things. We'd ask that you keep yourself on mute just for background noise. And please do feel free to raise your hand for a question or put it in the chat. They will be read during and after the speaker is done. So with that, I will pass it along to Rick.
Thank you, Tina. So welcome, everybody. I just want to reiterate, I'm very glad that we have Paul Reisberg with us tonight. He was a faculty member at Wellesley College in chemistry. And I've heard him talk before, and I've always learned and I've always enjoyed his talks. So I think we'll do the same tonight. He lives in Acton, so not that far away. So if he can do it, we can do it. And so anyways, welcome everybody, and do put yourself on mute. If you're not on mute for now, anyways, we'll take questions at the end. And do use the chat if you want to put some questions in the chat. And Paul, it's all yours.
Thank you, Rick. Let me say that although I do live in Acton, I've been attending church in Stow for 35 years, and some of my best friends are Stoics. I think what got me invited here is I maybe once too often would brag about, oh, today I was trying out my electric snowblower, or I rode here on my electric bike, and so I got this reputation. Anyway, today I'll share, what I guess is my electric journey and how I've been one by one replacing things with electric versions. Initially, and I'll just say this at the onset and then we'll leave it, but initially, it was all about climate change, right? That the goal to address it both nationally and in state is to just electrify everything and then to make that electricity green. And so I've tried to do my part as part of electrifying everything. I'd like to just start off with a little video clip that really summarizes everything that there is to be said, and everything else will really just be commentary from that. So let me share my screen. Okay. Yeah. So I think that sums everything up.
Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here. Welcome back to Tesla Daily. Quite a bit to go through today. We've got updates on Giga Texas.
Sorry. I mean, things are slowly, all kinds of gas things are becoming replaced with electric. There's no desire to go the other way, right? No one wants to make more things gas because it's obvious in that clip. I mean, it's noisier. There's pollution. It's unhealthy. There's that pain in getting things started. There's more that can, there's maintenance that's required, there's fuel that's required, there's things that go wrong, there's vibrations, it's just a more annoying world. And once someone electrifies anything, whether it's a car or a lawnmower, I mean, they never want to go back. There's always, okay, what's the next thing I can electrify? And so that's the essence of the journey. Like I said in the beginning, I started, thinking about climate, and also I just had I'll admit a dislike for shenanigans of the oil companies, and didn't really want to feel complicit with them. But in the end, it's just that electric things are just better, and they're better for the reasons I just said. When I started back, it was 2003, I bought a Prius, and I thought it was like a wonderful decision. I felt really glad about it. All the things we just mentioned, less maintenance, not having to deal with oil companies, it's quieter, it's smoother, it shuts down at traffic lights. I had my Prius for 18 years and 225,000 miles. And until 200,000, I never had to do any maintenance other than oil changes and wiper fluid and tires and brakes. So it was just nicer in every way. And when time to get our next car, and probably did it sooner than I needed to, but the Leaf had come out, and it was a chance to go fully electric, and I pretty much jumped at that. That was in 2013. It was the second year it was out. I now have 78,000 miles on that, and again, the only maintenance has been washer fluid, wipers, tires, and one brake job. So, it's amazing all the things that go wrong with cars. If you think about it, and we all experience that over the years, whether it's fuel pumps and belts and transmissions and catalytic converters and mufflers and radiators and et cetera, et cetera. There's easily like 50 different things. When I last made a list of this, and electric cars have none of those. And so that is one of the most satisfying things. It says there's nothing ever goes wrong with it. And the next step, well, I'll say this too, that whenever I used it as our commuting vehicle, it just had a range over 100 miles. So I would take it to Wellesley, Wellesley had chargers, I'd charge it there, or I'd just charge in the morning or overnight at my home. There was also free charging halfway at the Stop and Shop. So I never ever worried about getting a charge. And when I would encounter other people that were recharging, we'd always share with each other how really, really smart we felt that this was the best decision I had yet made in my life to get an electric car. And it's, as I said, once one goes electric, there's no desire to go back. The real desire is, what's the next thing I can do to electrify? I guess stay on the transportation front. My next step was when the Prius finally was showing its age at 225,000. I I got a Tesla, and that's now at 38,000 miles. That was in 2018, 4 years ago. And again, maintenance has been wiper fluid, right? It's just amazing. So that now has a range over 300 miles, and I've taken trips to Washington, D.C. I've been to Maine maybe a half dozen times. I've been New York City several times. I've been the Finger Lakes. I've done many long trips, and range has never been an issue. Basically, you get 5-6 hours of driving, and I personally, after driving that far, want to take a break. And so the half hour to charge is actually kind of welcome. Yeah, so I have nothing but happiness about the Tesla. And again, when one meets other Tesla drivers or the electric car drivers when one's charging, we're just all amazed at how wonderful electric driving is. And we, we just congratulate ourselves on what a smart decision it has been. And I'll add one other piece to my transportation story, and that's because 3-4 years ago, there was this Drive Electric Day event at Walden Pond, and I brought my electric cars there to show people, and they had electric bikes that they were demoing. So I hopped on one of those, and as anyone that's ever hopped on an electric bike, it's a dangerous thing because as soon as you do that, you feel, I got to get me one of these. It's just, one immediately feels like a child again. That sense of, wow, I can just do stuff. You just get on the bike and you just go and you feel powerful. The nature of them is you can adjust the level of effort and how much assist you have. So you can just use it as totally as a regular bike, or you can give yourself a lot of assist and then feel like you're very powerful as you're driving. The main effect is they make hills essentially vanish. You go up a hill just as you would your regular riding, and it is a sense of one doesn't ever worry when one gets on the bike. You don't think about what hills are ahead. You don't think about, am I going to have enough energy to come back? You just get on a bike and you go places. And so, I mean, you may say, well, I'm replacing a regular bike with an electric bike. How is that really helping anything? But the reality is you replace driving with bike riding. That I find well, not in the winter, but besides winter, any trip that's under 6 miles, I just take my bicycle. So, like I said, I go to church in Stow, I ride my bike there. That any chores in Acton, I take my bike. My daughter lives in Harvard. When I visit her, I take the bike. I've been as far north as Lowell and as far south as Marlborough and as far east as Lexington. And I've even gone visiting my son in Groton, which is 20 miles each way. And it's something I would not be able to do if without an electric bike. I wouldn't even think about trips like that. But I find I just do that. And so when I add that piece to the electric travel part, the next part of my adventure, I guess, was my mower. And I will confess, I always felt embarrassed mowing the lawn and did not like it. The noise, I don't know, I felt bothered about how much noise I was contributing to the neighborhood. And I just did not like mowing lawns. And when I started seeing electric mowers and started investigating them and looking at YouTube videos, I, tried to find someone that needed a mower so I could give them mine so I could buy an electric, and I did that. And it's totally changed. It's like the electric bike. Suddenly I kind of like mowing. It's quieter. It's like a hum instead of a loud noise. it just starts when you press the button. There's no, yanking and hoping that it starts. There's no, having to worry about fuel. They're as strong. I use it as a mulching mower, and it works fine that way. The practical aspects of it goes for about 40 minutes when the battery runs out, and you can either have another battery and go on, or you can just say, okay, this is a nice 40 minutes. I don't mind taking a half-hour break and letting the battery recharge and going again. Since I missed the batteries, I might as well show you one. This is what the battery on the mower looks like. And later on, I guess I can take a field trip to my garage and actually show you the mower itself. So yeah, I find it switched mowing from being a painful chore to one that I actually like to do, and other people like to do it. My daughter comes over and, oh, can I mow? My grandkids, oh, can we mow? And I've lent it out. One thing I'll show you is that it folds up into a small package, and you can just throw it in the trunk of my car and drive it places. So other people have used it. People have used it and said, I got to get me one of these. So yeah, electric mowers. That's one of the things I think to go. Once you start down that path, you basically choose an ecosystem. So there's different companies that make electric tools. I went with EGO, but there's others. There's Steel, Ryobi has a line, Black & Decker is starting to make them. The reason you generally stick to an ecosystem is because they each have their own batteries. And so once you buy a battery, you want to use other things that are compatible with that. And the next thing I went with was a chainsaw. I actually had a plug-in chainsaw before, but once I found I was using too long extension cords, and even that wasn't working, the flexibility of having something that was battery and I could just take it anywhere. Again, it's as powerful as gas, but quieter, less vibrations. Just a nicer experience, not having to worry about starting it. I guess actually I'm reminded again back to the lawnmower. There's no maintenance, right? I'm not worried about my plugs getting fouled. I'm not worried about when's the last time I changed the oil, or do I have to worry about the filters and getting those cleaned? And does the whole thing need to be tuned up? It used to go on one pull, now it's 2 pulls or 5 pulls, or it's not starting all the time. I mean, that all vanished. Now I just push a button. If there's a twig in my way, I'm not trying to, hold on, keeping it running with one hand and trying to reach and getting the twig with the other. I just shut it off, get the twig or obstacles out of the way, and just go, and I press a button and it starts again. So it's, whether it's a chainsaw or a car or a lawnmower, it's just a nicer experience. Once I started down this path, I just continued, and so I didn't have a hedge trimmer, but I said, I'll get me an electric hedge trimmer. So I went and did that. I also went for a weed whacker. So I think that's my collection. They all use the same batteries. The batteries come in different sizes. You can get lighter ones, which won't last as long. But for something like like a weed whacker, you don't need much power, so you might as well just use something light and easy. I guess actually I left out the last one. So my last step, and the one that frightened me the most, was snowblower. I waited on snowblower. I kind of looked at what was available. I watched a lot of YouTube videos looking at what kind of storms were they handling? Because I've lived here long enough. the 6-inch, okay, the 9-inch, okay. But once you get into the, 1.5 foot, 2 foot, plus you have the plows, pile up another foot or two, right? And it's kind of icy and slushy. And I'm 70 years old. I don't want to be having heart attacks, so I wanted to make sure I had that they were up to the task. And finally, last year, I convinced myself that it looked like they would be, and I bought a snowblower. That takes 2 batteries, and you want to use the heavier batteries. And at first, I felt, oh, I made a mistake. It wasn't working, and so I'll share what the problem was. Batteries are not just a battery, they're actually kind of sophisticated. They have controls and feedbacks, and they actually take care of themselves. And so, if just left sitting for a while, they'll discharge themselves to a happy state so that they'll last longer. And that's what mine had done. So they'd discharge themselves to like 1/3 the value. I had them in the snowblower, which was out in the shed, which was cold. And so between being cold and being at low charge, it wasn't really working. And once I figured out that was the problem, and so now it's basically when a storm is coming, make sure the batteries are fully charged, and I bring them inside the house so they're warm. Everything is perfect. So we had that big storm 2 weeks ago, right? So they handled that without any problem. Although I will say I had to change out the batteries halfway through. So that was not, but that's as bad a storm as we get. So I feel that they're up to the task. The snow we had, was it Friday? It went through 20% of the batteries. So, nice fluffy snow, it's like zero problem. The big storms, they're able to handle that, I'll say. And what I did, I just took a break halfway, and again, half-hour break, let them recharge, and then finished it. But you could just buy yourself a backup pair and just swap them out. That's what you do. So anyway, snowblower to me was the big test, right? Can everything be electrified? So I now feel yes. I guess the last thing I want to show you, and then we can do questions and stuff, is many people, when they try in electrifying their houses, they want to do electric stoves, and the state of the art now is induction. Carolyn Paul with one of her induction stovetops. I also had reserved one in the library, and I got a call today that it was ready. So I actually have 2 to show you, and we'll take a tour into my kitchen, and we'll boil some water and fry an egg, and I'll show you them in action. And basically, the way induction stovetops work, it's just they have a magnetic field that's varying. And if you have something that has iron in it, something that's magnetic, it'll induce a field in that and then heat up the utensil itself. So the stovetop doesn't get hot at all itself. The heat goes straight to the pan. So it's much more efficient. There's no waste. You're not heating up the air, not even heating up the stovetop. So that has some advantages, unlike, well, there's no flame, so you have all the safety issues. You're not going to catch your hair on fire. You're not going to have paper towels nearby that can catch fire. bad vision. There we are. There we are. So there's the safety issue, and since they don't get hot, other than the heat from the pot itself, you much more difficult to burn yourself. Anyway, first I'll start a race. I have about 2 cups of water. Throw that on the inductions and some in the gas stove. Tried out both pots on the gas stove. They did boil at the same rate. So we'll give the gas stove a head start. The induction, and just plug it into a regular outlet. I turn it on. And it's going. So look at, while they're racing, we'll see which one goes first. And there's a disadvantage in that I'm just using regular wall current. If you actually have a induction stove installed, they'll run at 240. And those actually heat even faster, in fact, about twice as fast. So, but even at half as fast, this should go quicker. Anyway, meanwhile, I'll make some scrambled eggs as it goes. I tend to follow the French chef's advice, which is all her recipes, right? The first step is put a cup of wine into the chef. Let's get that. So, got an egg, milk, cheese. Mix it up. And we'll second one here. Put that in. And we're starting to steam from one of ours, and the other is not, but we'll wait till we get a boil. I'll turn this on. And one of the things I want to show you, I mean, one thing is, I can't tell if people can see here. Hopefully you can see me. So, throw in my egg, get it cooking, and, you know, to recreate what would happen to me in real life, we'll spill a little. And we'll just go from there. And like in real life, I pretend I didn't notice it for a while, and we'll just let it sit there. And there's the egg. Let's see. It's just about a minute or two to cook. Oops, we got boiling. Now you can see. And actually, I guess I missed it. And we're starting to boil on the other. So it's starting to boil there. Here we got full boil going on that. So wasn't the dramatic increase, but it was faster. And like I said, if you have a built-in one, it's twice as fast. Anyway, got our scrambled eggs, and what I wanted to show you, you can serve those later. What I wanted to show you is, even though I spilled eggs all over it, it didn't cook on. It's just the same as, because this didn't get hot. Just wipes right off. And we're as good as new. So there's that aspect of it. And it doesn't, you know, it's warm. It's warm from the pot, but I can just, I don't know if it's true, but I can just set my hand on it. You know, the middle part's a little bit hotter, but there's that safety issue. Full boil. Turn that off. And the gas has also full boiled, so maybe that one part wasn't very as bad as I intended. But that's our cooking demo. I'll enjoy my eggs later. So it cooks quicker, it's fast, it's easy. You have more control. It's instant on, it's instant off. Like I said, you don't have to worry about spilling things. Things don't get baked on. You don't have to worry about grandkids burning themselves. It gets warm. It doesn't get real hot unless it picks up some heat from the pot. So the cooktop itself doesn't get hot, but you do pick up. Anyway, let me show you. Take you into my garage. I'll show you some of the tools and the bike that I was talking about. And actually, the one thing I did want to show you is the lawnmower, how it really folds up into a nice small see it. So here's the lawnmower, it just folds up, I think. Show you how quickly, sorry I don't have a videographer with me, but it just quickly unfolds. And it's ready to go. It folds into a nice, easy to store package. Like I said, I just throw it in the back of my trunk, taking it to places, but you know, it's a full size regular mower. These are the other things, the bicycle, chainsaw, head trimmer. My show and tell. I guess I won't replace the French chef, but I guess the one other thing I want to make note of is, let me get myself settled. My wife is having a simultaneous webinar, so I've been exiled to the porch. So I was, the shirt I was wearing today was from the Wellesley Students Neurology Department. It's a neuron. And thinking, I said, oh, we're electric. And I was thinking, you know, when someone has a bright idea, what's our image, right? A little light bulb. And when someone's not all there, you know, we can maybe say that they're a little dim, right? Now, we are electric, but it did occur to me we do make gas, but it also occurred to me that that part's embarrassing. So I'll end there and take any questions about anything. And I can talk at length about cars or bicycles or snow blowers or anything.
Thank you, Paul. You know, there's a couple of things you didn't mention as you went through. One of which is that one of the reasons I switched to an electric chainsaw is because otherwise I'd have the chainsaw, I wouldn't start it up again for another 2 years. And the gasoline that was in the tank would have clogged up the motor and I couldn't start it. Same thing goes for a lawnmower over the winter. If you don't treat it right, next thing you know, next spring, you can't start it. That's all got to do with the fuel you're using. So electric, it's easy peasy, no problem.
Yeah,
So
I would always fear that first snowfall every year, right? Is the snowblower going to work this year? Did I leave some fuel in it? Did that get foul? Will I mess it up? And there was always that fear that you're right. I don't have it all now. So now it's just it's such a weird experience to just press a button and you're going, right? And you think about how, snowblower, I had to prime it. I had to worry about whether was it not starting because I hadn't primed it enough, or had I flooded it?
right.
We stuck, right? So do I keep priming it, or am I going to make the flooding worse? And I'd always, take a few snowfalls before I had a feel for exactly how much priming did I have to do. So yeah, there's all kinds of worries and little things that we've gotten used to living in a gas world that just vanish, and you don't realize it till you're not dealing with those anymore, and you just feel so glad each time. I mean, each time I start any of these things, I just feel, that was easy. I meant to say, actually, so after getting electric cars, I still dealt with gas stations, although it's just once a year for the mower and the snowblower. But it's been 3 years now since I've been to a gas station for anything other than buying a quart of milk. So that, to me, that feels good. I'll just leave it at that. Marion.
You're on mute, Marion.
Okay, I'm ready to replace a very old stove. It's probably, maybe 35 years old. Anyway, and I don't even know where to start, what brands are good. I have an Ego mower and I love it, but I don't even know the names of these things, and I could do research, but I've also heard that you have to have special pots or something.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
All right. I didn't mention that.
So it's a little daunting to think about it, and it has to go in an exact place in the counter. So it's, that's the only place I have room for a stove is where the old stove was.
Mhm.
And so any advice as to how to proceed?
Yeah, thank you. These are things I meant to say and I didn't.
Mm.
This is actually the nice thing about that Acton library, and I believe the Stow library, the Randall Library will also shortly is planning to also offer this, that you can just borrow one for a couple weeks to try it out, make sure, right,
What?
that you like it, so you have an idea of how it works, and you'll have a sense, do I feel like I need more power or not? And you'll get a feel for it. So that's, I would say, is the first step, is to just check one out, either at one of the libraries. And I think until the Randall Library has its own, I think you can still get them through the Minuteman network and request one that way. So I'd say step one is that. And you also can learn which cookware will work on it. Now, the quick answer is, like I said, it's things that are magnetic, and you can just take a refrigerator magnet and just, if it sticks to it, it'll work.
Okay.
And I was surprised, actually. I mean, there's lots of things I thought would work, didn't, and things I did not think would work, like a lot of my nonstick cookware did. And some things that I thought were steel, but they had like a copper bottom, didn't.
Oh,
One of the things, the nice things, let's show this. So, the Acton Library not only had the cooktop, they give you a pan, they give you a homemade glove. So, but they also give you some magnets, so you can just do your own testing, right? Just sticks, work, right? So that's really
cool.
I think you want to do that before you check it out, just sort of see, get a sense of how much of your stuff will work with it. You know, if they can
Yeah, great.
them, and if it sticks, it'll work.
Okay.
And so I have to say that I tried to test the magnet chest in our own kitchen, and I'd say 9 out of 10 pots worked. And some that I didn't even think would did. So
Okay. Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Any brands that you like better? But I mean, I guess I have to just see in the size is important.
That worked. I have all clad. Those all work.
yeah, all clad. That was one of the ones I didn't know if it would work. We have a bunch of all clad, all work.
No, I have a whole set of those. They all
No,
work.
I mean brands of stoves.
Oh.
Okay. Well, Bosch is a good brand. I mean, I went to Hudson Appliance. They have some there you can look at.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. I'll do the research. Thank you.
Vary a lot in price. So you can be talking, you know, 400 or 500, or you can be talking a couple of thousand. So it depends.
Okay.
Are you just getting the stove top? Are you talking about 4 burners or 6 burners, things like that? If you want to get a full, get electric convection range with a full top, that'll be pricier.
Yeah.
But yeah, my advice is really just borrow one. Either,
There is this, I have a galley kitchen, so it's not like I could put it someplace else. The other one has to go out before anything else can come in.
okay.
So anyway, okay, I'll figure that one out. Thank you.
I don't know if anyone owns one, if they have any recommendation.
Carol Lynn, you said you got one as a
Actually, I was using hers. So
mini.
definitely, but I
Okay.
believe she's thinking of buying a new one.
Yeah, my husband bought it as a surprise for me over the holidays. And once we found out that if you saw in chat, they have a new study came out that's saying that gas stoves leak gas even when it's turned off. So we're all absorbing carbon monoxide. And so we put it next to our stove and started, not all of most of my pans don't work. Most of my pots do work. Because most of my pans have like I think it's copper or aluminum that's sandwiched between 2 layers, so they don't work. But so we've been using it. If I just have to boil water or do eggs or something, 1 pan things, it's always now on the induction stove. It's just cleaner, it's easier, really easy to clean. You just wipe it off. And then I spoke with someone who remodels homes about what if I have a granite countertop, and I said, what if the induction stove is bigger or smaller? And he said, as I put in chat, it's no big deal. He said they do stuff like that all the time. They either cut the granite if it's bigger, so your thing just slides in, or they'll just put an edging. around it that looks nice. You know, you can have an edging so that doesn't stand out. This was too small. You know, if it's smaller, they just have an edging that holds it in. They said it's not a big problem to do.
Great.
And if you're concerned about cookware, Williams Sonova has a line that's specific for induction cooking. And also in Acton, the kitchen store that's in Acton, I know they have a line that works with induction stoves as well. It's much heavier, but it works for induction stoves. So there's 2 places you can check out for that.
Someone mentioned the leaf blowers on the chat, and yeah, that is something I just mulch the leaves, so I have never used the leaf blower, but I do know how loud they are in the neighborhood, and there are many states that are starting to ban gas, non-electric leaf blowers. Required, if you're going to use a leaf blower, then need to be electric because of noise or ordinances, and also the pollution. So definitely, if you need a leaf blower, electric is the way to go.
And when we're using, if you put the electric, this little mini induction stove we have, if you put it on high, the water boils way faster than the water boils on our gas stove anyway. So for us, it's really a win.
Yeah, well,
And
actually, the first time I did it, it took 2 minutes on the induction and 4 minutes on the stove, and I think I just wasn't paying attention to how much quicker, I missed when it started boiling on the induction. So that wasn't apparent in my demo there, but it was a factor too when I practiced it.
yeah, it is faster.
Questions from anybody else or comments on your experience? We have a lot of silent screens here right now. Barbara and David, Lou, Diane.
Hi.
Hi.
I do have a question. Thanks everyone for all of this wisdom. I think like Paul had an Ego lawnmower, and I've been also thinking about getting the snowblower too. And one of the things, especially the last 6 months in Stow, is I've had a lot of power outages, and I think we've all probably had some power outages in the summer and in the fall. And I don't have solar panels yet, and I was thinking about backup electric systems or backup power, and I obviously don't want to do that with gas, which means that there's some limitations. So I was wondering if anyone had experience with trying to go all electric with a backup power system. One of the caveats there is that I was actually looking at so with the Ego batteries, like the lawnmower, snowblower batteries, they're all interchangeable. And Ego also sells a product called the Power Bank, where you put them all together and it basically becomes like a generator, which is great because you can actually, charge it. You can run it inside because there's no carbon monoxide. You're not burning any propane or anything. But unfortunately, I think like a lot of these power banks seem to only output 120 volts, which if also you're in Stow and you have a well pump that runs on like 220, 240 is also a bit of a problem. So I was wondering if anyone else had navigated that themselves and if there are any tips to share.
I can say we haven't done it yet, but we are definitely thinking one of the next things that we want to do in our house, we have is to figure out how to get a power wall, get a very specific. We right now have a gas powered generator as backup. And I hate it. And it works ish as long as we make sure it's maintained. It's 15, 16, 17 years old. Makes a lot of noise, aside from the fact that it uses propane. So I really want to switch to a power wall. We do have solar, so we should be able to feed the power wall. But we haven't, that's like the next thing we're going to do, right? We haven't done it yet. But it should be very successful. I don't know how much it costs. And I don't know if you live in Stow, I don't know whether Hudson Light and Power is giving you subsidies on that kind of power backup. If they don't today, they may soon, but I don't know what the status of that is.
I think Hudson Light and Power has time of use charging, right?
No, I don't think so. I think they've talked about it, but I don't think it's in place.
I thought they did. Okay. Well, anyway, if they do, or when they do, that's an added benefit of getting a house battery, because you can, right, buy it when it's cheap and then use it when you want it. And they also don't yet have a net metering, but at some point you can actually buy it from them when it's cheap, and the plan is, right, and then sell it back to them when it's more expensive, and so you can actually have a house battery make money. So there are places where that is already happening. It's not happening here yet, but the idea going forward, that legislation will enable that, and that'll be advantage. I did get a solar roof and did not buy a battery to go with it. Wish I had. And since then, I've been wanted to. I'm just going to buy the Tesla battery, and they had stopped selling them unless you also bought a solar roof with it. Or solar roof. I wasn't able to buy them. So I've been. So I'm in Acton, so I have Eversource, and they do have deals, and I've been like looking at those, but I decided I need it, because, as you said, there's enough power outages, and we had one 3 years ago that I was without power for 10 days, and that was, and I was just living at my kids' houses. So anyway, that convinced me that that is the direction I want to go in. The costs are at least 4,000 or 5,000, I think, for a large. So it's not something to just go and do, but
It's the same cost if you're going to put in a generator. A reasonably sized generator for your house would cost something like that too. So, and then you've got propane, and you've got yearly or bi-yearly maintenance, and you've got the noise.
Can you put in a power wall if you don't have solar? Can you feed it with your home electricity, and then have it store electricity, and then you can pull it later?
Yeah.
Okay, and will you have to top it up certain points? Does it lose its charge, or?
ONAP, and you can totally control it or automate it, so you can move electricity. So also, often as people have an electric car also, and then you can start moving it around in all different directions between, the extreme case, if you have solar roof, you have the utility, you have your car, you have the battery, you can start really moving electricity in all different directions to optimize things. And
Yeah, I mean, so Carol, to your question, it's like you could with some cars, you can switch to your car battery now. That wouldn't be any different than having a house battery, really.
Well, the difference is then you can't, if you run your car battery down, you can't drive your car. Whereas if you run your house battery down, you can, we can always pull out all our camping equipment, right? We've got all the little camping stoves and the lights and all that jazz.
A car battery, I think, is equivalent to like 4 or 5 of those house batteries. I mean, it's a much bigger battery, and so you really could draw off of the car without affecting the car too much. But this Tesla does not yet allow that. I think Nissan does. There's a few cars that do it. The expectation is in a few years, like all the cars will allow that, because it does allow this arbitrage of selling electricity back and moving it around. So that's the future. It's kind of right on the edge of happening right now, I would say.
Well, Ford advertises that for their new,
Oh, the Mach-E.
the F-150 or whatever it is model truck that you can run your house off of it too. Anybody else before we wrap up? Diane, Barbara, Lou, Adelina, anybody have a question for us? No question. Hi, Barbara. All right, then maybe, and we're starting to get notes. Got a congratulations from David Stern. Maybe that's it for tonight. And thank you, Paul. It was great.
Go electric, don't be dim.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tina, for
Thank
hosting
you,
us.
Rick.
And yes, we've got to
Next
get,
time.
we'll get, one way or another, we'll get a induction cooktop in the library for checkout.
Yes, we will.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, everybody.